Most people panic when they see their plant stems turning red or purple. They assume it is disease. They assume it is dying. They move it to shade. They cut back on water. They rush to buy fungicide. But here's the truth. Red stems are not always a distress signal. In fact, in most cases, that purple coloration is not a symptom of weakness. It is a symptom of adaptation. Your plant is not dying. It is responding to its environment in ways you were never taught to recognize. And later in this video, I will get to one cause of red stems that almost every plant owner gets completely backwards, thinking it is a problem when it is actually a sign of perfect health. Have you ever noticed your plant's stems turning deep red or purple, especially near the base or on new growth? Most people think this means the plant is sick or nutrient deficient. They panic and add fertilizer or move it to shade, convinced something has gone wrong. But that red pigment, called anthocyanin, is not a cry for help. It is protective sunscreen the plant is deliberately producing. When exposed to high light intensity, especially direct sunlight or bright grow lights, plants produce anthocyanin as defense against UV radiation damage. This pigment acts like biological sunglasses for the plant's vascular tissue, protecting it from photoinhibition, which is when excessive light damages photosynthetic machinery inside cells. The stems turn red because that is where the most vulnerable transport tissue is located. The plant is essentially armoring the pathways that move water and nutrients. And here is what almost nobody talks about. This is not damage or stress. This is successful adaptation. A plant producing anthocyanin in bright light is acclimating well to high-energy conditions and actively building tolerance. If you see red stems and leaves are still deep green and growing vigorously, you are not harming your plant. You are pushing it into its optimal performance zone, where it thrives best. If you respond by moving it to lower light, you take away the challenge it was learning to handle. The plant will lose its sun tolerance, and when you eventually move it back, it must start the acclimation process over. So what should you do instead? Nothing. If the plant is producing healthy new growth and leaves are not bleaching or showing burn damage, let it continue adapting. That red color is not a warning signal. It is protective armor being built. Your plant was building strength and resilience. Have you ever seen red or purple discoloration creeping up stems from the base, especially concentrated on older growth? Most people assume this is a disease or a serious watering problem. They start flushing the soil frantically or checking for root rot. But if the leaves are also turning pale green or yellowish, especially on older foliage, while new growth at the top stays green, you are not looking at disease or rot. You are seeing classic phosphorus deficiency. Phosphorus is absolutely critical for energy transfer within the plant. It is part of ATP, the molecule that powers every single cellular process from photosynthesis to cell division, and it is essential for strong root development and successful flowering. When phosphorus is unavailable, the plant cannot produce energy efficiently. The first visible symptom is often a reddish or purple tint on the stems and leaf undersides, especially in older tissue, because the plant is desperately pulling what little phosphorus it has out of old growth to redirect it to support new growth at the top. And here is what almost nobody talks about. Phosphorus deficiency is rarely caused by actual lack of phosphorus in the soil. Most standard potting mixes contain plenty of phosphorus. The real problem is that phosphorus becomes chemically locked up and unavailable when the soil pH is too high or too low. If your pH is above 7 or below 5.5, the plant cannot access the phosphorus even though it is sitting right there in the soil surrounding the roots. If you respond to this by adding more fertilizer without first checking pH, you are actually making the problem significantly worse. You are adding more nutrients the plant cannot use, which creates salt buildup that further locks out nutrient absorption. So what should you do instead? Test your soil pH with a simple probe or inexpensive test kit from any garden center. If it is out of the optimal range, adjust it carefully. For most houseplants, you should aim for a pH between 6 and 6.5. Once the pH is corrected, the plant will suddenly access all the phosphorus that was always there. That purple tint will fade as new growth comes in healthy green. Your plant was not starving for phosphorus, it was chemically locked out. Have you ever noticed stems turning dark red or purple during winter months, especially if the plant sits near a window? Most people think the plant is dying from cold damage or frostbite. They assume it is diseased or freezing. But if the plant is not actually wilting and the leaves are still firm and turgid, that dramatic color change is not damage, it is thermal adaptation happening in real time. When temperatures drop, especially at night near cold windows, plants produce anthocyanin as a biological antifreeze mechanism. This pigment helps protect delicate cell membranes from rupturing when temperatures approach freezing. It also helps the plant absorb slightly more light energy and convert it directly to heat, essentially allowing the plant to warm itself just a bit in cold conditions. The stems turn red or purple because they are the most exposed tissue, the first line of defense. And here is what almost nobody talks about. This adaptation is completely temporary and reversible. As soon as temperatures stabilize and warm up, the anthocyanin production slows down and the stems gradually return to their normal green color. This is not permanent damage. It is a seasonal survival shift. Many outdoor plants do this naturally every fall, and houseplants near cold windows are doing the exact same thing. If you respond by immediately moving the plant, you might be solving a problem that does not exist. If the plant is not wilting or dropping leaves, it is tolerating the cold just fine. So what should you do instead? Monitor the actual temperature at the window with an accurate thermometer. If it is staying above 50 degrees, the plant is not in danger. Let it adapt naturally.
If it drops below 50 consistently, then move it. But because of actual temperature, not color. Your plant was telling you it is cold and adapting, not that it is dying. Have you ever brought home a plant with naturally red stems and panicked? Some varieties like begonias, coleus, and rubber plants are genetically programmed for red pigmentation. This is not stress, it is genetics, their natural phenotype inherited from selective breeding. Red stems in these varieties come from permanently high anthocyanin concentrations, not triggered by environment.
And here is what almost nobody talks about. If you try to fix this by changing light or nutrients, you will not turn stems green, you will just stress a healthy plant. So, what should you do instead? Research your variety. If red stems are part of the cultivar's normal appearance, leave it alone. Enjoy the color, that is why it was bred. Your plant is exactly what it is supposed to be. Have you ever seen red streaks appearing after finding insects on your plant? Most people think disease spreading through vascular system, but that red pigment is not infection, it is defense response. When pests like aphids or spider mites feed, they trigger anthocyanin production that makes tissue less palatable and signals other plant parts to ramp up defenses. And here is what almost nobody talks about. The red means your plant is fighting back. If you see red stems and pests, the insects are the problem, not the color, which is proof the immune system is working. If you treat color instead of pests, the real problem keeps feeding. So what should you do instead? Inspect thoroughly for insects. Treat with insecticidal soap or neem oil. Once pests are gone, pigmentation fades. Your plant was at war and winning. Now here is the one most people get backwards. Have you seen red stems on mature, older plants that have thrived for years? Most people panic, thinking their healthy plant is dying. But if the plant grows vigorously and flowers regularly, that red is not decline, it is maturity. Woody-stemmed species like ficus and dracaena produce anthocyanin during lignification, when soft green stems harden into woody tissue. This is the plant transitioning from juvenile to permanent mature structure. And here is what almost nobody talks about. This is stability and strength, not weakness. A plant mature enough for woody stems has successfully established itself and is preparing to live for decades. If you treat it like sickness, you stunt development. So what should you do instead? Celebrate it. If producing new growth and healthy leaves, red stems are a badge of honor. Your plant is not dying, it is growing up. There is a quiet confidence that comes from understanding that color change is not always crisis. When you stop reacting to every visual shift as a potential disaster, You start seeing your plants as dynamic living organisms that communicate constantly through pigment, shape, and growth patterns. You realize that red does not always mean stop or danger. Sometimes red means adapt successfully, defend effectively, mature gracefully, or thrive powerfully under challenging conditions. I walk past my plants now, and I see red stems as valuable data, not as imminent danger. I see a philodendron with purple new growth, and I know confidently it is acclimating well to the grow light I added last month, not suffering from disease. I see a begonia with naturally brilliant red stems, and I do not second-guess its health or panic about deficiencies. I remember when I used to panic at every single color change, constantly moving plants and adjusting care, thinking I was doing something fundamentally wrong. I was not doing something wrong. I was just reading the wrong language, interpreting signals I never learned to understand properly. If this changed the way you see red stems forever, subscribe and share this with someone who keeps unnecessarily moving their plants every time a stem changes color. We are building a community that understands plants speak fluently in pigment and color, not just in shades of green. They are living systems that adapt and respond, and living systems communicate in full color.